set is not in the
She
index.
doesn't. Oh, yeah. That's not where I want. Close. It's this, and this, and this, and this. Okay. Righty. I am recording, not that I need to. I don't need this going or this. Gonna go with gallery and that's okay. Q&A questions. There we go. All righty, I'm gonna open up the floor for. Oh, you've got Towelpalooza stuff for show and tell, haven't you? Oh my gosh, you're gone. My mother has abandoned me. Nah. Oh, are you coming back?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. I looked up and you were gone.
Well, Jacob was, he's putting a mailbox in down below for Harlan, a locking kind.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to see him, but he didn't get here in time. So
You've got Towelpalooza stuff for show and tell, or could do.
for show and tell, are we doing show and tell?
Well, we can if we're looking for stuff to talk about, if there aren't questions. Shoot, why did my gallery go away? Did you just disappear? Yes, your video just went away.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna start there you're back. Oh, but you're on the other camera, I think.
No.
Oh,
but the
I'm getting
sound
lots of glare from the ceiling lights that I was not before.
Oh, well, I don't know. Let's see here. Let me look at the.
Hi, Sharon. We're still sorting things out. Hi, Ann. People, hello, the people. Folks.
Yeah.
So obviously I did get the link up in Patreon properly this time. Every time I do this, I have to figure it out again, or I panic that I'm doing it wrong. Which camera are you using, Mom?
I'm using the Logitech one, and for some reason, when this jiggled, it the sound is less and
Well, so you confirmed by looking at the video menu that you're still on the
it
Logitech
says
one?
HD webcam.
Okay. Sorry for being.
So it should be it, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. I don't know why the sound would have changed, unless you're.
No, either.
Hi, Holly. Hello, all the folks. All right. Well, can you hear at all, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. And we can hear you. I can hear you. Okay. Anybody having trouble hearing Mom or me, for that matter?
But the picture is a lot fuzzier, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's because the ceiling lights are so much in the frame. Maybe if you tilt it down a little bit.
Maybe I can turn them off.
Oh, fancy. Great. Thanks, Anne. Oh, now you're sitting in the dark. How funny. It was just fine just before we started the webinar, and then it went kaput. Yeah. Anyhow, here we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to February, almost March. Oh, weird. I don't know that we have anybody new, but just in case that we do, the chat window is the place for all of the socializing, chit-chatty stuff. And Mom and I keep an eye on it, but don't have our eyes glued to it the way we do have them glued to the Q&A interface. So if you have a question that you don't want to get lost in the chit chat, then put that in the Q&A interface, and everybody should be able to see the questions that are there if they haven't been answered yet, and you can comment on them. So you can add your own 2 cents, your response, or your hey, me too, or whatever in the Q&A interface, which you will find if you are on a desktop at the bottom of your screen below our smiling faces. And the chat is down there somewhere too. If you're on a device like a tablet, oh, now we don't see your head, Mom.
Well, it is not using the right video, even though it says it is.
It's lying through its little teeth. Oops, you were there, you were gone, you were there, you were gone. Flashing. Anyhow, if you're on a device, a tablet or a phone, then those things will be in the menu somewhere, but it's different for each device, so we can't tell you where. Yeah, so you're still using the other one, but whatever.
I don't know how to fix it, sweetie, because it says it's using it.
Okay. So what can you do?
So, I don't know. I guess I'll just.
There.
Well, that's that crummy picture.
Yeah, but we can see you at least, rather than just a black void where your head ought to be.
All right. Just ignore me and think.
I could turn your picture off, but I like to see you even if you're kind of fuzzy and dark. This is how I get to see my mom. All right, onward. A little bit different thing for the scarf report today. I'm gonna do one. Oh, you just switched back to your other camera, Mom.
I know. I unplugged it and plugged it back in again. So and the sound is better too. So, all right, never mind.
Don't touch anything.
I won't.
Okay, so I'm doing the scarf report because I had a scarf I wanted to show off, and because Mom has been busy weaving things other than scarves with studios full of peoples. So this is a little scarf that I just finished. My Weavers Guild did an exchange where each weaver brought a ball of yarn that was not enough to weave a scarf out of, and we swapped them randomly. And then we took the ball of yarn that we received back to our own stashes and added stuff to it enough to make a scarf, and then wove a scarf out of the original ball plus whatever we added to it, and then returned it to the original donor of the yarn, if that makes sense. Except that I didn't give mine back to Anne yet because she wasn't at our gathering today. So I asked if I could just use it for this scarf because I liked it. I was very proud of it. You can see it's got nice flexibility while still having quite a bit of body because it's linen, or a lot of it is linen. So I'm going to take it off now and put it under the camera so you can see it better. I put some pictures of this on my Facebook page, on my Weaving with Janet Dawson Facebook page. If you look at them, please do not look at the messy kitchen in the background. Let's see if I switch to the, oops. Why is my mouse doing the crazy thing? Oh, this mouse has been acting up. Okay, this cam. There. So you can see the heavy cotton. Actually, one moment, please. I have it right here. Right here. And brought to the exchange this penguin DK weight 6-ply cotton. And I added to it this, where's a good plug? There. This is 55% linen, 45% cotton, and it's much finer than the stuff that Anne supplied, except that it's got flubs, and occasionally it gets thicker, but not very often. And it's, as you can see, nearly the same color. That was my goal, because Anne is not, she likes neutrals. I mean, she likes color too, but she likes very pale, subtle colors. So I decided to go subtle for her, which is, you may know, not my usual MO, subtle. Huh. So I doubled the heavy yarn, so it's even thicker every few warp ends and every few weft picks in pairs. And so it's quite open where it's just the linen. So you can see my hand through there. But because it's linen, it still has quite a bit of body. And I got very tired of starting and stopping the heavy yarn constantly. So after a while, I switched to just stripes in the warp. And then after a while, so that it didn't look like I was just wimping out, I switched to a different pattern at the other end. Anyway, I was quite pleased with it. And I love the way that it feels, because it's got a lot of drape, but it's not sleazy. If I had done this just with cotton or geez, like something like Tencel, it would have just it would have just slid all over the place. But the little bit of texture in the linen, the thick and thin, and the linen itself made it work. So I was pleased. That is my scarf report. And I'll put this back on my face. And then I will turn this light back on because we will need it for the future. Alrighty, we have some questions in the Q&A. First of all, first one is from Susan Hector, who says, what are your thoughts about using corrugated paper as you wind onto the cloth beam? Ah, the cloth beam, not the warp beam. When I first read this, I thought you meant the cloth beam. I do not usually wind anything onto the cloth beam along with the cloth. Mom, have you done?
I've done it if there's lumps from something underneath the knots or something, and it isn't very even. But I'm more likely to use a stick or some short sticks that fit a little bit longer than the warp than I am to use anything else.
Mm-hmm. For this scarf that I was just showing you, where the heavier cotton was, it piled up and got thicker on the cloth beam than the thin areas did. So it did have kind of a ridginess. So as I wove that on my rigid heddle, and I had thin cardboard slats to keep the warp separated on the warp beam. And as each one fell off, I moved it forward to the cloth beam to smooth out that surface. But I've never done that on my floor loom, and that I can recall. And I have not used corrugated cardboard for either the cloth or the warp beam. I know of people who love it, swear by it, think it works great for them. I would be concerned. My concern has always been that if I put much tension on the warp, it would collapse the corrugations and therefore not provide even tension. But whenever I voice that concern to people who use it, they say, oh, no, that doesn't happen. I don't know what to tell you. But those are our thoughts. Hope that helps. Okay. Next, oh, well, as it happens, Anne Bunn asks, would you consider teaching an online name drafting class? Yes, I would. And I had plans to do exactly that did not come to fruition for the winter, but I did develop a short, it was like a 90-minute mini workshop that I gave for the Seattle Guild, and I'm doing a somewhat longer version, a 3-hour version, there'll be a break in there, for my local guild, which will be online on March 13th. And as I posted to Patreon last night, there are still a handful of spots available. And I got permission from the organizers to open the registration up to patrons. So the link is there on the patron page. You might have gotten an email about it. I think that's how Patreon works. But if you didn't get the email, then go to patreon.com and find me and stuff. And the link is there to register. It's $45 Canadian. It's a 3-hour workshop. It's from 1 to 4 p.m. my time, Atlantic time. So you got to figure out what that is in your own time zone. If you are elsewhere, it would be 9 a.m. to noon if you are on the West Coast, for instance. And it's on Sunday, March 13th. So it's not, it's obviously not a weaving workshop because it's 3 hours long. It's me talking head style with the slideshow and then some exercises that we'll do together. And then we'll take a break, during which time you guys can, if you want, or the participants can, if they want, do some solo exercises, and then we will come back and discuss them. So yeah, I'd consider it. And then I'm also doing it
on Zoom, right?
Yes, that is on Zoom. Indeed. Pat Donald asks, can name drafts only work with block structures? I wouldn't think so. I mean, you can use the name drafting concept to make decisions about a lot of different things. So any kind of design element. So one example would be like colors. If you wanted, you could come up with, I mean, if you translated the sort of bog standard version of name drafting, which translates letters of the alphabet to 4 different shafts, you can have them instead translate to 4 different colors, and then it could create a stripe pattern, for instance. Or it could decide which of 4 different yarns you were going to use, or it could decide the different interlacements you were going to use while treadling or whatever. What name drafting is a decision-making aid. So you can use it whenever you're trying to, I don't know, create a mixture of multiple options to decide on the order in which those options appear. Most typically used for overshot, most typically used for block weaves, unit weaves. But not necessarily only that. And Pat, I don't know if you took that name drafting workshop or not, but one direction I've been going with with name drafting is rather than having the letters translate to blocks or shafts or whatever, I've been having them translate to motifs. So it's that same idea of having a sort of slate of design elements and letting the letters of your phrase decide for you. Alrighty. Ann Stouffer says, I've never had a problem with collapsing the corrugations. This would be of corrugated cardboard. And I think, yeah, so when folks use the corrugated cardboard, it's single-sided. So normally, like regular cardboard has got two smooth surfaces with the corrugations between them. But when folks are using it on getting it for their loom, you get it with a single smooth surface and the corrugations, and there's no smooth surface on the other side of the corrugations. And Anne says she always makes sure that the corrugations are facing in towards the warp beam so that the threads are pressing on the smooth side. That is most interesting because I would have assumed the reverse. So I may have gotten into hot water had I tried it, or maybe it works either way. Who knows? Anybody else out there use the single-sided corrugated cardboard stuff and have experience to share? Please do. All right. I also had somebody write in and ask a question about crackle. So I will read that question to you. Da, 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 if I can find the right thingy. Here we go. Okay. She says, my question is about the set for a crackle draft by Margaret Bergman, originally published in the Northwest Weavers, Volume 1, Number 4, around 1941. And she sends the link, which I will put into the Patreon post. So you can follow, you can look it up if you want. She had, excuse me, she sent a copy of the Margaret Bergman draft and her notes, and says, if I understand correctly, Bergman used a 20-dent reed with 2 threads per dent, resulting in a set of 40 for 20/2 cotton. But if I look at the master yarn chart, it recommends for 22 cotton, the 3 sets it recommends are 30, 36, and 48. So 36 for a balanced plain weave, 30 for an open plain weave like you would use for lace, which is usually my go-to set for something like crackle or overshot, where you have a heavier pattern weft and a tabby ground kind of thing. So Holly goes on to say, I thought for crackle with a tabby, a more open set is needed. A set of 40 seems quite dense to me, even for 20/2 cotton. Is it needed to get the pattern to show? I had planned to use an 8/2 cotton warp with a 5/2 pattern weft and a 10/2 tabby with a set of 16 to 18 until I read Mrs. Bergman's instructions. Now I don't know what to do. Okay, so first, I agree. That seems like a really close set. So and so first here, I'm going to share so you can see what, let's see if I go here. Oops, I want to share. No, that was the thing I want to share. Oops, and then that has to go away. This is the picture that goes with, this is the notes from the publication. And you can see where it says the warp is 20/2 cotton and the reed is a number 20 set at 2 threads to the dent. So yep, that's 40 ends per inch. And here is the fabric that was produced. And Holly sent a width, which I have modified. And here it is my version of it. Mom, are you seeing my Fiberworks?
I am.
Great, okay. So Holly, first of all, the tie-up was wrong. The tie-up did not match the notes. So I changed the tie-up. And the border was a straight draw threading rather than a point. So that didn't match either. Neither of which is really relevant to the question at hand, which is the set. So then I put in the number of pattern picks designated in the instructions here. 10, then 8, then 8, then 2, then 8, then 8, then 10. And when I did that, let me go back to here. This, I think, is that version. And if I make the thickness of all the weft threads the same as the warp threads, which is what you have to do in Fiberworks to simulate a balanced weave, you can see that it's squished short. It is not square or even ever so slightly taller than square as in the woven cloth. Second of all, when I zoom right in on this, oh, why can't I zoom in now? Jeez. Oh, here we go. When I zoomed way in and I tried to count these little speckles with, limited success, but I am nearly certain that each of these blocks, with the exception of the very skinny blocks, have 2 fewer pattern picks than is written in the instructions here. So if I go back to Fiberworks and I put my number of pattern picks in there, what I think is actually in that cloth, it's even more scrunched vertically. And I have to change the thickness to 6 to make it look almost as tall, looking at the ratios, as wide. I'm looking at, here, draw this thing. I'm looking at this square right here. That looks pretty square to me. It's a little bit shorter than it is wide. Whereas in the fabric, I think it's a little bit taller than it is wide, but it's pretty close. And that means that the picks per inch are about 2/3 of the ends per inch. The tabby picks per inch are about 2/3, which means the pattern weft, the wefts are going in there at about, give or take, 26 EPI or PPI, pattern picks per inch or tabby picks per inch on a 40 EPI ground. So on that 40 EPI ground, she is not getting a square fabric. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all wrong with that. But when we're talking about things closer to a 30 ends per inch set for 20/2 cotton, that's to achieve a balanced fabric. And I don't think that's what she's got, which is what's going on, why she's got, well, it's the result of her having a very close, warp set. Furthermore, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, so, and the average, incidentally, between 40 ends per inch and 26 picks per inch is 33, or awfully close to that 30 ends per inch. That is the frequently recommended set for overshot if your ground is 20/2 cotton. And I would think it would be a good set for crackle too. However, there are a whole lot of different ways to treadle crackle. And the different ways to treadle may require some adjustments in set. I'm not sure. I've got this cool little book by Mary Snyder called The Crackle Weave. And in this one, she details, just in 3 pages, 3 short little pages, 13 different treadling systems for crackle. One of which is to treadle it kind of like overshot, which I think is what Bergman has done in the fabric and the example that we're talking about. And she has several different little projects in this book, and the vast majority of them that use 20/2 cotton suggest 30 ends to the inch. So this one is 20/2 cotton. The reed is 15 dents double slayed. Here's another one, double slayed. Many, many, many examples in here where the warp is 20/2 and the set is 30 EPI. Then there are some in here where the warp is 10/2. This one, it's 2 strands of 10/2, and her set is 16 ends to the inch. This one, warp is 1 strand of 10-2 and her set is 24 ends to the edge. So as with just about everything, pick a likely starting point and be prepared to adjust your set to get the end result of the fabric that you want. A couple more examples. Going to this guy. These are crackle samples, and this one is 10-2 warp, 5-2 pattern, 10-2 tabby, and was set at 20 EPI. And this is not the treadling system that you are looking at. This is a polychrome treadling system where you have 2 different pattern wefts and 2 different tabby wefts, and it goes tabby, pattern, pattern, other tabby, pattern, pattern, tabby, pattern, pattern, other tabby, pattern, pattern. And this little block here, which is not quite square, so there's the warp is at 20 EPI, and there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 picks of each pattern and the tabbies in this, and it's taller than it is wide. So that suggests to me that this isn't beating in quite square, but it's got 2 different pattern wefts on the go. So I don't know how useful this is to figuring out what you want to do, but I guess my point is that there are there's a wide range of workable warp sets, and where you fall in that range depends on what qualities you want your fabric to have. And the only way to be sure is to sample. So it depends on how much you care about being sure. If you don't care, then you don't have to sample. All right, that is, let's see. Oh, Anne Bunn says, I've used corrugated cardboard on both the back and the front, and she's never had issues. She really likes it on the front beam. It covers the knots, and the weaving goes beautifully. There you go. And somebody else says, my loom came with it, and I've used it ever since, and it's always been great. So I just haven't ever had a source of it, so I haven't tried it. Okay. So who's got questions? I'm out of stuff. I'm out of my Q&A. I'm out of the stuff I was asked in advance. This is your opportunity to pick our brains. All right, well, why don't we give folks, we have a winner. Oh, ideas for spring weaving. Oh, and somebody asked about the book report. I was afraid of that. I did not have time to get to a book report, but I can tell you that The Crackle Weave by Mary Snyder is a cool little book, and it's so small, but it's packed with informations. She has another one called Lace and Lacy Weaves that is also in string. In string, listen to me. My nephew said in string instead of interesting when he was what, 3, 4, and now he's 26, something like that. But I still say it. He probably has no memory of doing it. The Lace and Lacy Weaves, also by Mary Snyder, is like 90% Bronson, or at least the threading is 90% Bronson. Okay, there's, bless you. Somebody has asked how Towelpalooza is going. Mom, do you want to hold up some things? We've had 2 sections have been complete, and we have 1 left to go. This is Mom's 1 day off between so many days of towels. So
it's gone really quite well. We had 7 people in the first session and 6 in the second. There's 10 looms to choose among. And so we haven't had people piled up behind one loom to waiting for it, which has been a good thing. So I have some here that people took their samples home, of course, or their towels home. So I don't have those. This one I did.
So that is Strickler. It's the threading for number 168, 169, and 170, but that is the treadling for 168. And Mom wound a gradient warp, a folded warp, so the two halves were the same. So you can see it goes from the red violet at the edges to yellow at the center. And what color did you use for weft there, Mom?
This is wine. It's a wine color. People have used black, they've used yellow, they've used white, they've used blues. You can use anything when you have a multicolor warp like this.
And I've been, at the end of each one, they all hold up all their towels, so I get to see what they did. And it's been really interesting to see which parts of the design or the warp show up depending on what color they used for their weft. If they use a lighter color, then it kind of disappears in that center stripe and it shows up more on the sides. And if they use a darker color like that, you see the design really clearly down the center.
Then this one, Janet calls the kinship towel. It's related to the friendship towels, but she changed it around quite a little bit. Can you see that? No.
Yep. Oh, a stripe. Weft stripes. Nice. Yeah,
Some people did it in red, all red. And that is kind of cool, actually. The warps are light gray, charcoal, black, and the red stripes. And I did it in white, and I like it because the light gray pattern shows with the white. If you weave it with light gray, you don't see that pattern in there very well.
Did anybody do it with black or charcoal?
I think somebody did it with charcoal. Yeah, so there were these nice charcoal stripes. I don't know. I've got a little bit more. I've got two people's samples here, but I'm not sure. Let's see.
You can see the looms all set up for the folks coming in on Monday, tomorrow. Whoosh.
Let's see, this one was kind of an experiment one, I think.
Oh, I like that. I like the stripes.
Yeah. And this was a lady who has never used a floor loom before this week.
Huh. Well, she did a great job.
She did. Let's see here. Do I have? Yeah, here's with black. And this lady beat it pretty hard.
And she used a point treadling rather than the as drawn in treadling. So that point treadling is not in Strickler, but it sure is pretty. And I like that with the black, you see the design everywhere.
Yeah. It's quite nice. And it's heavy enough that I think it would make a good like table mat or something. So then let's see, what else have we got here? This one is the Jenny's coat from Marguerite Davison's. This one's mine, which I think is only sort of successful.
Oh, I like it. It looks really good on the screen.
Well, the base color is, I think it's khaki, isn't it? I think it's Broussard's khaki, or maybe.
No, it's flax.
Flax. Okay. And I used ivory. on it. And the difference is not great enough for the pattern to show up in the twill stripes
Right.
particularly. But other people used, let's see, do we have another one here? Yeah. This person did kind of a color study, all kinds of different colors. The top one is kind of a mustard, and then a blue, teal, and then black, turquoise, darker blue, green.
Oh,
They all look good, in my opinion. Every single one of them is interesting.
is that the opposite side or is that the same one or just the other end?
The other end.
Does it look very different front to back?
No,
Yeah, okay.
no. So that's a good one for using up, because these stripes in there are kind of a bumberay, the flat chevron type bumberay. And depending on the colors that you use, it's pretty cool, I think. And you could just use up leftovers.
It's a great way to use up bobbin ends.
Exactly.
Every warp that we put on, with the exception of one, is just 8-2 unmercerized cotton. And the exception is 8-2 cotton hemp, because we didn't have enough of the natural cotton around, but we had the cotton hemp because it's really nice too.
This is a, well, you need to describe this, honey. I'll turn it sideways so maybe it'll show better.
Lift it up a little bit more too. So this is chorus effect. So it's closely related to a turn taquete, but isn't quite. And it's got 3 parallels in the threading, and this version does not have a true tabby, and as you can see, it does cool kind of oil slick color swishy stuff. And it was really fun to see the results from different weft colors on that one.
Yeah, it's a 12 shaft pattern, and so there were some people that just couldn't do it. It's too heavy on the loom. And then this one Janet calls Carnival.
Because of the colors. Wow, they look so much more intense on the screen than I remember them being in my hands. Back it up just a little bit so we can see the purple stripes too, please. Thank you. Yeah. It's some bright, but it's pretty when it's not bright too. It's a turned twill, but it's a turned point twill with colors doing fun stuff.
Yeah, people did lots of different things with that one. They some people dulled the colors out by using softer wefts, and some people just wove straight through and didn't do anything except vertical stripes. Let's see, what else have we got? Well, here's the one that I messed up for this lady. I cut her sample in half because I thought that was the end of it, but it wasn't.
That's the one that is summer and winter, unless it's rose path, unless it's bumberay, unless it's this, unless it's that. It's a combination. Well, it's really one threading that can be woven as any of those things, depending on the tie-up or treadling. Tie-up and treadling.
Now, the other part of hers, she kept pretty simple.
So she's got 2 fingertip towels instead of 1 tea towel.
Or a kind of an odd-shaped napkin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fabric is useful regardless of what shape it is.
and let's see. Is there anything else? I think I just did this one this morning, but I can't show it to you because it's on the loom. Oh, this one. Okay, this is Huck lace.
It's a color and weave gamp on a Huck lace structure, but this person wove it with a single weft color, so you're not getting the color and weave, and this one is only coming from the warp stripes. You're not getting the weft stripes doing stuff as well, but it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and then another person just wove it very plainly.
Why are there loose stripes in that center pink? Is that denting? Looks like there's threads in it vertically, warp wise.
Well, that's just what's in the vertical. That's just what's in it.
It has holes.
Well, it's spaced out. Yeah, I mean,
That's denting.
I guess so.
Okay.
And then she put that on the bottom.
Nice. It's so interesting to see what colors people choose.
And then this one is
She's like Mr. Dress Up with the tickle trunk. She's just got endless things in there.
Atwater basket. And I like the way this turned out.
Yeah, that's nice. So that's little bits of basket weave juxtaposed with plain weave?
It's just block A, block B, block A, block B, block A, block B, all the way down, and no stripes. She kept it simple. That's the lady that was just learning how to use the loom. And I do believe that is it. That's all I have. There are other ones, but I don't have any samples.
Fun. Well, thank you for the roundup. That's the T-Tell report. Okay, and we do have questions in the Q&A now. So let's scroll back up to the top of those. And I'm going to come back to the ideas for spring weaving. Faye Williams says, what set would you use to weave upholstery fabric using 5/2 cotton for a weaving or sewing stool? So the set is going to depend in part on the structure. If you're doing plain weave or twill or something different. I wove fabric out of 5/2 cotton to upholster a rocking chair and a stool. And for the rocking chair, I did a twill, an 8-shaft twill, and I set it at 18, and I don't think that's close enough. It's okay, the fabric is okay, but I don't think if the rocking chair saw heavy use, I'm not sure how well it would stand up. It's a little, upholstery fabric really wants to be quite a bit denser than regular fabric. So I would increase that, certainly, I don't know, 22, 24. Mom, do you have any input?
I don't know about 5/2. I use 10/2, and I can't remember what I set it at. I'd have to look that up. But I agree. I mean, you need it to be really pretty darn firm. So you want your set to be tighter than you normally would have it.
Yeah.
And you want, I think, a structure that doesn't have much in the way of floats. So
Right.
Something that's pretty flat, so that nothing gets caught on it, and those floats don't wear.
On whatever surface will be exposed. It's okay if it's floaty on the inside, because that's going to be inside your stool.
Right.
So like swivel is basically a plain weave surface, but super floaty underneath. That would be okay for upholstery because that all gets enclosed. I used the same 5/2 in rep. And the stool that went with the rocking chair was done in that, and it was much more just a better choice. And I can't remember what I said it at. It was so many years ago, but I want to say maybe 36 or maybe 40. But I don't take my word for it. 32. I might be able to figure it out if I can find a scrap of it, or if I just peer really hard at the stool. I have pictures of the stool somewhere. Anyway, the rule of thumb that I am familiar with says that if you do like a yarn wrapping, and you normally take 50% of the yarn wrapping for your plain weave and 66 or so percent for twill, you would go like 90% for upholstery fabric. So really dense. And then you might wind up needing to use something a little finer for your weft, but there's nothing wrong with that. Hope that helps. Okay, Patricia Olson says, I am weaving an overshot shawl. The overshot pattern blocks weave in an even number of rows, making it easy, but the tabby, which is 10-2 cotton, 8-2 merino, and zephyr, 18-2 merino and zephyr always start and end on the same side when I change color. Most often the weft gets carried up the side, but in several areas the tabby color changes, as well as infrequent use of red weft. Over the course of the shawl, do I have to worry about all the tucked in ends being on the same side? I'm halfway through and it still seems to be even at the fell. No, if you are that far through and you're not having any problems, I wouldn't worry about it at all. I only really worry about it if you're changing colors a whole lot. If it's only like once an inch or something like that, then I don't worry about it so much. An option, if you are concerned, would be to, because this is your tabby, not your pattern, correct? So you could start your tabby from the other side on alternating tabby stripes, but then you would have to, so then if, for instance, you've been weaving along and always starting and stopping and starting and stopping on the left, you could start the next stripe with the tabby on the right, but then you'll be going against your autopilot. If your autopilot has gotten used to left tabby treadle, shuttle from the left, right tabby treadle, shuttle from the right, you'll be operating opposite to that, which is very confusing for those of us who really like to let our autopilots take care of such things. So it's an option, but one I would not necessarily take myself. If you've gotten halfway through it and you're not seeing an issue with buildup, then I wouldn't worry about it. I'd say you're just fine. Let's see. Also, an infrequent use of red weft. Is the red weft the pattern? And how many picks of the red weft do you have? One trick, if you have only 2 pattern picks of a color or of a whatever, if you start it on one pick and immediately stop it on the next pick, what I do in that case, rather than having, to mess about with starting it on the one pick and then throw it across and have come back and then have to mess around with stopping it on the next pick on the same side, I throw it across, leaving a fairly long tail on the side it started from. And then on the next pick, I tuck that tail in and bring it across as far as it'll go and send the shuttle back to meet it. And then I just have the original tail and the shuttle end to overlap, and it's somewhere in the middle, so not at the sides. Only works on those 2-pick things. But if you have a 2-pick thing, it's a great trick. Ready? Anna asks, what is Bumbaray? Do you want to field this one, Mom, or do you want me to?
Well, I've got examples. I took a workshop from a lady named Ruby Leslie. It was really a very good, very fun workshop, I thought. Bumbaray is a threading system, I guess you'd call it, little 3-point twills that that are arranged. You may have to chime in here, but let me just, there's different ways to treadle it. So that, let me see if you can see this. I don't know if it'll show.
Hold still so it'll focus. And maybe back off just a little bit. There, it just focused. So at the top, close to the fold, there's the kind of chain.
Yeah,
You
kind
can
of,
see the chains in the orange, the yellow, and the pinky color.
and they're ridgy.
Yeah. And then below that, there's little chevrons.
And they're flat. And they're very short floated. That's what I used in upholstery fabric that I wove for my dining room chairs, was the chevron Bumburet.
And what fiber and set did you use?
I can't remember the set, as I said. I 10-2 cotton, pearl cotton is what I used.
Okay.
Actually, this woman pronounced it Bumburet.
Mm.
It's a French word, so Bumburet, I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, me too. Do you have more show and tell on the Bumburet A?
Not really. I don't know that I have. Well, here's another one that may show it up a little bit better. She had us do all kinds of samples.
So normally, and maybe always, Bumburet is threaded on a 4-shaft point threading, where the 343 is one color, and then the 212 is another color. 343 one color, 212 another color. So it's in 3 end stripes.
Right.
That was fuzzy. That I don't think that focused.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yes, it can be a bit of a nuisance to wind. If you have, can you see that?
It's not focusing, but we can sort of see the shape. That I can't see it in the lavender weft, but in the dark blue weft, you can see the chains.
Yeah,
There's a good article about the different treadling styles in handwoven from a while back, isn't there?
I can't remember, honey. I don't know.
I think it was.
There's definitely projects in Bumburet that show up in handwoven periodically.
Yeah, I did a bunch of. I did a warp of a bunch of tea towels, and Mom, you did that beautiful blanket / baby blanket.
Yes, I think it's a great structure. It has a little bit of texture to it from the ridgy stuff, and when you have your three ends of the same color, depending on how you arrange them, you can get repeating stripes, or you can get, just, I don't know quite how to say it, but just like you can with any kind of stripe, you can arrange them so that they're really fun and pretty.
This is a Bumburet that Mom wove on a warp I put on my loom when she came to visit me once. We'll get the stuff out of the way. And this is front and, well, where you see the light yellow chain on the back side, it looks like this other stripe. So it's just the front and the back alternating weft-wise. And I want to find some pictures of those tea towels that Sandra and I did, because they were so pretty. Oh, hey, Mom, look, I found a picture of your blanket.
Oh, cool. That was done with 8/8 cotton, I believe. Yeah, I think that's 8/8. And it was really soft and luscious. It was really nice.
I'm trying to see. There's an inch on that ruler, which looks like it's one. Let's see. There's 9 ends of this sort of peachy color. So it looks like you probably had it set at 10.
I suppose something like that, 8 or 10.
And the treadling system to get these chains is so it's a point threading with the colors. The color placement is what makes it Bumburet, really. And then you have your regular twill tie up, and you pick one of the twill treadles, and you do plain weave, and then that twill, and then the other plain weave, and the same twill. Plain weave, twill, other plain weave, same twill. So you can untie everything but those 3 treadles. You put plain weave on one side, you put your one twill treadle on the other side, and you just go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And your left foot is alternating between the 2 plain weaves. So it's fast to weave too. We're letting all of our trade secrets out. Nothing wrong with that. That's what we're here for.
Well, and you can also tie up another twill treadle and you can alternate those two.
Sorry. More of that blanket. I just thought it was so gorgeous. Here it is. Wait. There it is on the loom. Oh, it's on your nylus. I thought it was on one of your Macs.
Oh, it's only a 4 shaft.
I know. This was our Bumburet going on. So you can see, again, using up lots of different colors in the warp. And we use so many different, that I think is a picture of a threading mistake or a treadling mistake or something. I don't remember. We used so many different colors for weft, and they all worked because there was so much in the warp. All these, so pretty. There. Anyhow, Bumburet's a good one. And 4 shafts, man. Okay, Sandy says, I plan to weave a tartan fabric in 8-2 cotton for covering a personal box. Your thoughts on winding separate warps and then order the threads in the rattle to wind onto the back beam and then hang the crosses to thread. It doesn't sound like much fun to me because a tartan has got, if you warp back to front, which is what I am gathering from the rattle and the winding onto the back beam and hanging the crosses to thread, a tartan has many colors. And so if you wound, so even if it just has, well, I guess there are probably some tartans that have 3, but most have 4 at least. So if you wound each of those into its own warp, then you would have to have 4 crosses hanging behind the castle to thread from. And that does not sound like a picnic to me. On the other hand, when I have been pressed to teach front to back warping, and I think to myself, why on earth would I choose to dress my loom this way? One example is tartan, because then you can wind all of your colors separately and put them through the reed where they need to go for the tartan order. And then you thread them in the order they need to go for the tartan. And then you tie them onto the back beam and beam your warp. So if you really want to wind your colors into separate chains, I would suggest front to back rather than back to front. But in my experience, it's not worth, there's no savings of frustration or labor to have more than 2 warp chains that you were interleaving in the threading if you're dressing your loom back to front.
And parenthetically, if you're using a trapeze, don't do it. Period. Janet sent me warps. Well, it was, which one was it? It was,
I'm in the doghouse.
No, well, yes, you were. You were.
Yes, I was.
Could hear me swearing.
Yes. There was a stretch when I was really glad I was in another country.
This one here, she sent me 2 chains, one that was the warm colors and one that was the cool colors. And she thought that would make it easier for me. Well, I use a trapeze to do these really long warps. And, you can't, unless you had 2 bars on your trapeze, which I do not, it doesn't work. I was having to fuss those things around on the bar, trying to keep them from getting all tangled up. and not happy. And then after it finally got on the back beam, I had the 2 sets of leaf sticks hanging behind the castle. Anyway, I'm just.
The irony is that I learned that, or at least I adopted that beam 2 separate warps stacked top and bottom from you, Mom, from when we did double face stuff, but they were shorter warps.
Yes, we were not hanging them from a trapeze.
So that says to me we need to design a trapeze for multiple warp chains.
No, let's just wind them in order.
Well, I mean, we can do both.
Let me do the winding. I will wind them in order.
It's like when you're asked to wash the dishes, but you break all the dishes, so you never have to do the dishes again. I think I will not be asked to wind any of the warps for Towelpalooza again. This year I had to do it because supply chain issues. We couldn't get the yarn to Mom soon enough for her to wind the warps to dress the looms.
Yeah.
But I had it in my store. So I wound the warps. And boy, was she happy about that.
Oh, there were some challenges.
Oopsie daisy. Okay, so what we have left on the hopper is Ann Bunn saying ideas for spring weaving. Let's hear them, folks. What are your ideas for spring weaving? What do you plan on weaving this spring? Assuming spring ever happens. Or, there's, Holly says the best price for the Crackle Weave book. Is that the one by Susan Wilson, Holly? Or is that the Mary Snyder one that you were talking about? So she says the best price is at Eugene Textile Center if you're in the US. And I don't know if it's this one or the Susan Wilson Crackle book, which is the sort of modern version thereof. Mary's book, that's this one. Okay. I wonder if this is available through Arizona or handweaving.net. I don't know what the publication date is. 1961. Would that be out of copyright? I don't know. Holly says no, it is not. Okay, Holly would know because she's been researching Crackle for Seattle Weavers Guild Study Group. Okay, so what else is in? Let's just check. Okay, lay them on us, folks. What are you weaving this spring? What are you planning right now or dreaming of weaving this spring? Anne needs inspiration, and so do we.
I'd like to weave a set of napkins.
No.
Using 16-2.
16-2 cotton?
Yeah.
And what structure?
I haven't decided yet.
For your dining room or?
Yeah, for my dining room. And maybe some extras to sell. The thing is, something like that is so specific color-wise that it's kind of hard to know what would sell and what wouldn't. Towels are different. People aren't so picky about their towels.
Towels don't need to match anything.
Well, some people like them too, but boy, every single towel seemed like that we had at the last guild sale just flew out of there.
Yeah. Holly says she is putting deflected double weave mug rugs on her loom for the spring. Good heavens. That is a lot of a labor of love for some coasters, man. But Holly has also shared with me some of the samples that she's done in recent deflected double weave workshops, and they're really nice. Susan says curtains for her office, but she's not sure about the material. Is linen a good idea? I think that's a great idea. The scarf that I showed you earlier, I think this would make really nice curtain fabric too. And I'm toying with the idea of doing that in linen. I have, for my next going on I have deflected double weave on the loom right now. I really should weave that off. But my next warp Mm, it's not within arm's reach. I've just got, I think it's 6 different colors of, let's see, 16-2 bamboo. Here, I'll show you. That I'm going to weave into overshot patterned double weave, also known as complementary plain weave. There she blows. These are samples for a guild exchange. These are, let's see, guild study group sample exchange. So I will cut on the solid magenta lines. But this is my plan.
That's pretty.
I know, right? It's so pretty. I hope that it looks as pretty in the fabric as it does. And I'm really curious to see how much drape it has. It's 4 shaft overshot pattern double weave. So there's an awful lot of interlacement. So it could be fairly firm fabric, but I'm going to do it in bamboo. So it might be, I don't know.
You might set it a little wider than you normally would and beat it a little lighter than you normally would and get better drape.
Yep, that is the plan. I think I'm going to, unless I have some sort of revelation that tells me it's a terrible idea, I'm going to try it at 22 per layer, 44 ends per inch, or 24 per layer, 48 ends per inch. That's my plan. Patricia Olson would like to know how much the towels sell for, Mom. What's the range at your guild sale?
Well, pricing is one of my hot buttons. I think way too many weavers sell things way too cheap just because they're having fun weaving them, but then they're undercutting other people. I think in my market out here in the Seattle area, our towels sell in the 30s and 40s, 35 to 42. Very seldom do you see a regular tea towel for under, I'd say 35. And the only time that makes sense to sell them for that amount, that low an amount, is if you've got a run on one warp and you can save on warping time. So people were paying whatever we asked last October. The people that come to our sale know what they're getting, and they don't come if they aren't willing to pay for hand woven items. So, it doesn't pay for us to have our prices low. So that may not be the case where you are, Patricia, but I guess what I'd say is just don't undersell your own labor and your time and your materials and your creativity,
and your guild mates.
And your guild mates, right? Yeah. I have a studio tour here usually in December, and one lady brought in some smallish towels one year, and she wanted to sell them for $14.
Oh.
And I said, now, no, you can't, I won't let you do that. She said, well, I just had the material. I was just using up the yarn. That is not the point.
Not the point.
So I made her price them. I think she ended up at $24 or something, which was still too cheap. So I'll get off my soapbox now.
Our guild, we do not live in a affluent area. We lived in a really quite economically depressed area. So it can't command the same kinds of prices as the Seattle area can in a lot of ways. But I'm pretty sure what we do is set a minimum. So for each kind of thing we have in our guild sale, you must charge at least this much. And if you want to charge more than that, go for it. And I'm pretty sure our minimum for tea towels is either 32 or 36. assuming it's a regular size tea towel. If somebody came with a little, like a fingertip towel sort of thing, then we would, kind of prorate that, maybe 24, or I don't know. But so people weighing in on their spring weaving. I'm seeing a lot of bambouret. What a surprise. They do look like the little chevrons, they look like little tulips to me. So good one for spring. We've got bambouret and towels, probably in bambouret. Here's another one that says towels, maybe in bambouret. Anne's going to be doing a deflected double weave workshop soon. Who's doing the workshop, Anne? Is that Natalie Drummond or somebody else? And she says, I'll be using 10-2-10 cells, suggested set so it won't be too tight for a scarf. I have 8-2-10 cell on my loom right now. We use that 8-2-10 cell in deflected double weave at 24 EPI, I think, in the class that I taught in the fall, and then what I have on my loom now.
So did you see that Ann Stauffer has a brand new spring too?
I don't know. Oh, waiting outside Montreal. Yes, I remember when my magic was on that ship outside Montreal, and it was, oh, where's it coming? When's it coming? That's exciting.
Very exciting.
Very. Great. Okay. I think that we have gone through most of these. So, and what time is it? I think we've come close to our time as well. So this is it. Last call for questions or comments or whatever you want to throw into the chat or the Q&A. Ooh. Oh, Carrie says she's dyeing 10 cell warps and weaving wildly colored scarves and doing houndstooth on her rigid heddle. And Yvonne is doing Strickler #1, towels in Strickler #1. I've seen some pictures of these, and it's a nice one. Oh, and Anne said she found Mary Snyder's book on eBay. So places to look. You can check in the used bookstores too. Though do send Eugene Textile Center your loves in the form of cold hard cash, because it's hard to keep our businesses afloat. And yeah, like that. Enough of that. Alrighty. I think that wraps us up for the month. And we'll be on to March, which will be spring for some of you. Somebody up there in the chat said it's already spring where she is. Not here. We have power and we have heat. So I'm calling it good. We lost power for 3 days a couple of weekends ago. 71 hours without any power. It was down to 7 degrees Celsius in the house before it came back. That is very unusual. It's not happened to us before. But I'm wondering if it isn't the way of the future. Anyhow. Okay. You look like you've lost power where you're sitting, Mom.
Oh, I just had the lights off. It's been sunny outside today. So,
what's the temperature?
Oh, I think it's low 50s or something.
I think it's about like that here.
Okay.
It's been really freakishly warm juxtaposed with really cold. We had a flash freeze. It was going to drop something like 11 degrees in just a couple hours, 11 degrees Celsius, which is a lot of Fahrenheit degrees, with a heavy rainfall warning. So all that rain was going to fall, sit on the ground because the ground's, frozen, and then freeze. But it didn't. I think it took longer to cool off, and there was enough time and enough wind that the water evaporated. So it wasn't as bad as we feared.
Okay, well, honey, I'll see you at 9:30 in the morning for our third class. Right?
Right. Your 9:30 though, not mine.
Yes.
Phew. I'm telling you, I am so glad I moved 4 hours ahead. Except that I don't get to see my mom. Except this way. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you in a month. I'll see you
Bye.
tomorrow, Mom.
Okay.